Hey guys, how you doing here? This is Clint from the Wedge Shop. Wanted to give you guys a quick build bio on the Triumph TR7V8 Turbo, kind of our shop car. Talk a little bit about its features, functions, what it's all got going on. I know you guys have been asking questions and not really done one of these in a while. So for me to kind of show you the car, show you what it's all about, is quite different, quite unique. Puts down a good deal of horsepower. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We're also going to be changing up the setup here soon, so we figured we'd do this now and kind of do a little bit of before and after. So let's talk about the car and what it is, kind of how it came to be. Original build was about six years ago, and realized the other day just actually have 8,000 miles on this motor with this kind of setup. So really cool, it runs strong, it's a great little motor. So what does it actually have? We're going to spend a lot of time talking about the motor and the drivetrain because that's what makes this thing special. So what does it actually have? So it's a stock Rover 3.5. It was used just sitting in the corner of the shop, pulled it out, cleaned it up, and did a few things to it to kind of make it a bit sturdy. Obviously overall, as you guys can kind of see what's going on here, it is turbo, single turbo. So to handle that power, what we did when we put the block together, it's just stock used cast pistons. We put some chrome rings in it, but it's just stock rods, stock heads. But really what we did to kind of strengthen it up is we did all ARP hardware. So ARP rod bolts, main bolts, head bolts. It's got an Urson cam in it, ground specifically for the turbo setup. It's a Harcourt single plane intake. And then to keep everything cool, we've got an electric water pump. Running the Missouri electric water pump, if you guys can kind of see it down there. Looking all shiny. Apologies, car's not the cleanest it's been. But wanted to show it to you guys anyway. So, yeah, I mean, with the power plant, we really just wanted to see what could the 3.5 do in terms of horsepower and reliability. So did all that kind of hardware stuff with the ARPs. We also did Cometic gaskets on the car. Set up kind of the MLS gaskets, multi-layer steel. A lot of turbo guys run that stuff. And they seem to be holding up real well. Like I said, it's got 8,000 miles on it. In terms of ignition, kind of just going old school. With this turbo setup, a lot of guys run a lot more advanced stuff, but we're just running pretty old school. It's just a Mallory SS distributor. I've got the timing locked out at 28 degrees. So basically it's just static 28 degrees all the time. So the distributor is locked out. It has no advance in it. But what we do is we control that timing through a Mallory high fire box. What we're doing is we're pulling a 0.4 degrees of timing for every 1 pound of boost. So basically for every 10 pounds of boost the car sees, it pulls 4 degrees of timing. So at 10 pounds, instead of running 28, it's running 24. And that's just a straight graph down. And at 20 pounds, it's running 8 pounds less, so it runs 20 degrees. And that's all run through a Mallory ProMaster coil, which you can kind of see down here. And in terms of the fuel setup, if some of you guys are interested in that, it is running fuel injection. It's it's a throttle body fuel injection made by FI Tech. Kind of scroll around the front, maybe you can see that. Let's see, there you go, say FI Tech there. So there's a throttle body fuel injection, basically just controlling the fuel. It's just a target air fuel ratio. It does a pretty good job, but we're looking to move to something a little bit different here soon. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It has run pretty well. We've had it on there for probably the last 4 or 5 years, and it pulls hard, and it's made the power we want so far. We're just looking to go to something a little bit different here in the future. So if we look at the rest of that fuel system, running a Bosch 044, single Bosch 044 pump with Some filters in line in the air motive fuel pressure regulator here, as you can see. It runs about 58 pounds of fuel pressure. And I'm running 6-6AN lines all the way up to it, so there's a feed and a return, as you can kind of see there on each side. Just to make sure it's got enough power. So it should be good for all the power we want to run through this thing. In terms of the drivetrain, okay, what's kind of holding this power back, we'll talk about those power figures soon, is just a stock LT77 transmission. A lot of people, don't feel like they're very strong or can handle the power, but with the power this thing's making and the torque, it's had no problem so far. We run our metal pump gears in this. We recommend everybody do that instead of the kind of the fiber mesh gears that are in there by stock. Just run those metal pump gears, don't seem to have a problem. It's got a lightened flywheel, 22 pounds, a center force clutch. Something we put together here at the wedge shop. I've got a narrowed 488 rear end with running 327 gears, a little bit longer than we might run with some of the naturally aspirated stuff, but it seems to run. It seems to like it. Keeps it in the boost and the power band a little bit longer, and it works out quite well. And we've got disc brakes in the back. If we want to talk about the brake setup for a second, we've got Willwoods in the front, so our Willwood big brake kit. Let's see if we can kind of shine some light on that real quick for you guys. See if you can see it. So yeah, we got the Willwoods there in the front, and in the back, I'm going to take a peek over here real quick. We do have a disc set up in the back as well, just a stock Mustang rear end disc setup. So if we kind of go on to the turbo setup, so what's really powering this thing, I'm running just a Garrett 60 trim. It's at a 58.58 AR housing on it. And if you can see here, basically what's going on, let's swing around the front of this thing. All right, let's take a look at the turbo, the kind of heart of all the power making here. So it's got a 58 AR housing, so the housing here. And if you can see, what's basically happening is this is a 3-inch exhaust out the back. So you've got the exhaust comes across the front of the motor. Okay, as you can kind of see over there. Comes up. This side of the exhaust is just coming over and up. They both merge right here, push in, and then head 3 inches out the back. And I've got an intercooler running across the front. You can't see it, but it runs across the front. We'll take a peek at it real quick. I've got an aluminum radiator in there as well. Love that thing, keeps this baby cool. And then pushes across up here into the carb hat. So with this turbo right now, we're running two different setups. Running about 13 pounds conservative, and then we can flip it to about 20 pounds to just be a bit more unruly on the street. It's really not even manageable at 20 pounds of boost. And in terms of, if you want to see that intercooler real quick, see if we can actually stick our head in there and take a peek. The intercooler just sits right there in the front, in front of the radiator. It's good size. You can take a look at the specs if you check out our website. But yeah, it's good size. It's doing the job for right now. I might have to upgrade soon, given the power we're looking to run in the future. The pretty cool thing with this exhaust that I wanted to show you guys is what we ran is just, these are just Land Rover headers that came on like a 4.0 or it came on a 4.6, some of the newer ones. And they're just right dependent, so we just flipped them around, pointed them towards the front of the car instead of the back, and made our piping up that way. So a pretty cheap way to do it, but not cheap in terms of, just cheap in terms of price, not in terms of the actual quality. They're actually really nice stainless steel headers. It's really nice stuff. And if we just kind of want to talk about the, obviously we got Offenhauser valve covers on there. I got this cool little breather set up too with all these ANs. No more leaking oil. If ever you guys have ever experienced that, likes to spew out of there a little bit. So we've got that all locked down, runs really nice. I've got our strut tower brace on there, keeping this thing steady in the front. Probably the coolest part of it is this little Triumph fender cover. I don't even think we have those on the website, but keeps the car clean while I'm working on it. We can bounce inside real quick. It's a little dark. This is basically stock interior, but you can see the high fire setup down here. Let me shine some light on that for you guys. Let's get the high fire setup down here. Short and shifter. We've got the Go EFI setup over here. Just a little computer turns on. Got some of our gauges, stock gauges up here, a little JVC radio. And of course, the Signed by Harris Man dash. Gotta love that. So that's about it. But to talk about the power real quick, so I mean, for what this thing is, just basically a stock 3.5 running a lot of boost. At about 13 pounds, the last time I went to the dyno a couple years ago, 13 pounds, it put down 350 to the wheels in horsepower, 374 foot-pounds of torque to the wheels. So add 20% to that, and you get somewhere around 420 and what, about 450 torque, 420 horsepower to the flywheel, which is pretty crazy considering what it is. Stay tuned over the next month or so, couple months. We're going to actually move this to full fuel injection, just like you see on the Land Rover. We're going to be running a Can-Am's ECU. Move this whole thing over, control of timing, control of fuel. It's going to be pretty awesome. We'll document the whole thing. But yeah, stay tuned. Thanks for taking a look.